Wait, don't run away. Don't look anywhere else, because what is about to be said often gets drowned out in the noise of your life. You are tired. I know. You gathered courage time and again. It broke time and again. Every time it felt like not anymore, just enough. And then someone said, don't lose heart. Whatever happens, happens for the best. But a voice came from within. How much longer? How much more waiting? How much more enduring? Look, I am not consoling you. I am not giving you false hope either. I just want to take you to that place from where things can be seen clearly. The problem isn't that things are going wrong with you. The problem is that you take every event as something against you, and that is where suffering is born. Life never does anything to break you. Life simply prepares you. But the fire of preparation burns, and in that burning, a person thinks it is a punishment. You say, what did I do wrong? And life stays silent, because life does not give explanations. It gives experience. Now, listen carefully. When something breaks, there are only two reasons. Either it was weak, or it needed to become stronger. The pain you are going through is not proof that you are wrong. It is proof that you are being molded for the next height. But your trouble is that you want results quickly. You sow a seed and ask, why didn't the fruit come today? Whatever happens, happens for the best. You misunderstood this sentence. You think it means everything will be easy and pleasant. No, good is not always comfortable. Good is often harsh. Good often breaks your identity. If fear is breaking inside you, understand that something right is happening. If your old way of thinking is shaking, understand that life is knocking. What you call misfortune has come to bring out the hidden strength within you. But you want to run. You want to say no more. And this is the very moment where most people miss the mark. Courage doesn't mean smiling. Courage means standing tall even while crying. Courage doesn't mean there is no fear. Courage means saying yes to life despite the fear. You think life is testing you. Actually, life is waking you up. And remember, the stories of those who break midway remain incomplete. But for those who stay put even in the dark, the morning waits. If this is stirring something inside you, do one small thing in your thoughts. Just write, I have stopped. This isn't for me. This is for your own resolve, because what is coming next will go to the very roots of your thinking. Understand that the place where you are stuck is not an accident. It is a well thought out arrangement of life. As long as a human keeps running, life lets them run. But the day you truly get tired, that is the day life stops you, and this stopping feels like a punishment to you. Because you have always mistaken speed for progress. You never considered stillness as depth. But I ask you, where is the river deepest, where the water flows fast or where it settles? Your crisis isn't that something has stopped. Your crisis is that even in that blockage, you are looking for the same old answers. Life never gives new answers to old questions. It gives you a new way of seeing. Now look closely. When everything was going fine, when did you ever know yourself? When did you look inside? In pleasure, a person stays asleep. Pain wakes them up. Therefore, I say pain is not your enemy. It is a stern friend who shows you the truth even with a slap. You say, I was right, yet wrong happened to me. But life is not a courtroom. It doesn't do math. It is connected not to your right or wrong, but to your preparation. The one who has to go forward must first break from within. Because the one who hasn't broken inside won't be able to handle the height outside. Now this point is very deep. Don't listen to it lightly. What is repeatedly falling in your life isn't just falling. It is being removed. Certain relationships, certain identities, certain dreams, certain habits that were stopping you from moving forward. But you were clinging to them. So life gave them a jolt and you said, everything is snatched away. No, what was snatched was a burden. What remains is who you are. But this is only understood when a person sits alone and learns to look at their suffering instead of running from it. You are still hoping that someone will come and say everything will be fine. I say everything won't be fine, but everything will go in the right direction. And the right direction is not always comfortable. Look, life never gives you what you want. It gives you what you can be prepared for. And preparation means the shedding of old skin. Look at a snake. When its skin comes off, it looks helpless, weak, sensitive, scared. But that very shedding is the condition for its growth. You are currently in that stage. So don't blame yourself. Don't curse your time. Just do one thing. Let what is happening happen with full consciousness. Do not resist, because resistance prolongs the pain. Acceptance makes it deep. And from depth, transformation is born. Remember, the person who fights their sorrow loses. The one who observes it becomes greater than it. Don't lose heart. This doesn't mean you have to smile. It means you must not run away from your experience, because life only changes those who stand naked before it. See, what you call a mess in life is actually the tug of war between your habits and the truth. Life is simple, but the mind has made it complex. And the mind does this because it cannot survive in simplicity. The mind creates questions. Life doesn't give answers. It gives experience. You ask repeatedly, why me? But you never ask, what wants to change inside me? And that is the difference between pain and wisdom. Look, when someone hurts you, you blame them. But when life breaks you, you start blaming yourself. In both situations, you miss seeing the point. Life isn't punishing you. It is jarring your consciousness. The day you understand that life is working for you, not against you, that is the day the internal struggle will begin to loosen. But right now you are fighting. With what? With events. But events are just an excuse. The real fight is yours between your old identity and the emerging truth. You want to remain who you were, which is no longer possible, and that becomes unbearable. You say, I used to be like this, now everything has changed. Yes, and it's good that it changed. Whatever doesn't change rots. Look at the tree. If it doesn't change its leaves every season, it will die. But the mind says, I'm fine just as I am. This is the language of ego, and when the ego breaks, a person thinks everything has fallen apart. Actually, that very scattering is the beginning of a new order. You are afraid because what was familiar is leaving. But you haven't formed an identity yet with what is coming. The time in between feels like darkness. But remember, when a seed falls into the soil, it also goes into darkness. And if the seed starts thinking, I am finishing, it will never become a sprout. You are currently in that soil, where the old form is dissolving and the mind is screaming, everything is over. But life is composing something new deep inside. Your restlessness is proof that the change has begun. Something that isn't changing isn't restless. Only inanimate objects stay still. A conscious mind always trembles during a time of change, so don't mistake your restlessness for weakness. It is a sign that you are alive. You say, I am losing courage. No, you are losing false courage. The courage that was based on show, that ran on others' opinions. Now, the courage that will be born will come from within. An internal courage doesn't make noise. It is quiet, it is deep, it is unshakable. But before it arrives, everything feels empty, and the mind fears emptiness, because the mind cannot settle in emptiness. But that very emptiness is the door to truth. If you don't run from this emptiness, if you can stay in it, you will see that which cannot be contained in words. Then you will understand that what happened was not just for the best, but it was necessary. Necessary. Because without it, you would have stayed stuck right there while life moved on. Remember, life never waits for anyone. It flows, and the one who learns to flow with it knows peace. Now, you are at a turning point. The way back isn't the same anymore, and the way forward isn't clear yet. This is the moment where trust is tested. Trust not in someone, but in life. And trusting life is the hardest because life makes no promises. It just moves. If you can move, everything is fine. If you get stuck, there is pain. Now you have reached the place where most people stop. To go further from here requires not courage, but honesty. Until now, you fought with life, sometimes silently, sometimes with complaints. But now life is standing you in front of a different question. The question isn't, what will happen next? The question is, do you still want to keep control? The mind wants control, it wants a future, a guarantee, certainty. But life rejects all three. That is why the mind and life can never be friends. As long as you want to hold on to the future, the present keeps slipping through your hands. And then you say, I can't even live. Actually, you are trying to live, and life is not an effort. Life happens. Now understand something that very few people get. Your sorrow doesn't come from events. It comes from your expectations. An event is just as it is, but you want it to be something else. That gap becomes sorrow. Until now, you tried to run life on your terms, and every time life told you, I don't run on your terms, this collision has become exhaustion. Now, exhaustion has a use too. When a man is truly tired, that's when he learns to let go, and letting go is not defeat. Letting go is the greatest understanding. When you say, I can't do anything, that's when for the first time a possibility of something happening arises, because that's when the ego steps aside. And ego is the biggest burden. Ego says, I have to prove it, I have to show it, I have to be right. And life says, just be. Now look, only when something completely leaves your hand can you see it properly. As long as you hold it, the vision stays blurry. That is why what broke completely in your life came to show you things clearly. Now you might ask, but what did I get out of this? You got freedom from false supports. You got the fact that now you don't need to hide from yourself. You got the fact that now you can say, I don't know. And this sentence is very revolutionary. A man who says, I don't know is ready to learn. And for the one who is ready to learn, life opens its secrets. Now pay attention, your restlessness is changing. Before it was full of fear. Now there is a silence in it. Before you wanted to run, now you can stay. This is the sign that something is stabilizing inside. Stability doesn't mean nothing is happening. Stability means the fight with what is happening has stopped. And as soon as the fight stops, energy is released. Then you will see that life has started lifting you up. But keep in mind, this lifting doesn't happen instantly. Life moves slowly because it works in the depths. Now you are in a state where transformation, not a miracle, occurs. A miracle is seen from the outside. Transformation happens within. And internal transformation doesn't make noise. It quietly changes your vision. Now the very things that scared you before will start teaching you. The same loneliness that used to bite will now become a companion. And the same uncertainty that was once fear will now feel like freedom. Then you will understand that not losing heart wasn't an effort, it was a deep permission. Permission to let life be as it is. Now you're moving not toward the end, but toward the source. Now the question, why with me, won't remain. Now the question will be, how am I seeing now? And that is the biggest turning point. Remember, what hurts most in life isn't the event, it is the interpretation you've attached to it. The event happens in a moment, but you live it over and over in thoughts, in memories, in possibilities, and that is where sorrow becomes permanent. Look, life never takes you back to an old yesterday. It always happens in this very moment. But you are unable to stay in this moment. Sometimes you try to fix what's gone. Sometimes you try to secure what's coming. And the present remains ignored in between. This is the reason you feel life is slipping out of your hands. Actually, you aren't even in life. Now listen to something deep. The mind always wants to reach a conclusion. It says, now I understand, now I know. This is the truth. But life is never a conclusion. It is a continuously unfolding process. The day you say, I know, that's the day you stop. And stopping is dying from within. That's why a person who is truly alive always stays a little incomplete. He knows, I don't know, and that is his beauty. Now I want to say this to you. The struggle you have gone through has made you more sensitive, but you are taking it as a weakness. You say, I used to be tough. Now I break easily. No. Before, you were numb. Now you are awake, and an awake person feels more. That's why the pain feels greater. But this very sensitivity will make you deep. Harsh people don't last long. They can't break, so they can't change. Only the one who can break can take a new form. Now notice, a new fear is also being born inside you. This isn't a fear of failure. It is a fear of falling back into the same old rut. And this fear is healthy, because now you know how expensive it is to live in a slumber. But don't become rigid because of fear. Rigidity is again a trick of the mind. Don't bind life in a safety shield. What is open is alive. What is secure slowly becomes dead. Now you're in a situation where loneliness doesn't scare you. It begins to explain things. Before, you used to hide yourself in a crowd. Now the crowd has started to tire you. This change is important because the crowd gives you an identity. Loneliness gives you an encounter with yourself, and that encounter always happens in solitude. Now you're also seeing that most people are not truly present in their lives. They are just moving by habit. And you have started to look outside of habit, so you are uncomfortable. But remember, the one who isn't uncomfortable is asleep. Your restlessness is now your teacher. If you don't run from it, if you don't suppress it, it will give you a very clear vision. Now, one final thing in this part, don't lose heart doesn't mean you shouldn't break. Don't lose heart means don't be afraid of breaking. Because not every break is a loss. Some breakages are of bonds. And when bonds break, there is pain. But with that pain comes freedom. Now you are near the door of freedom. But the final door is the narrowest. Ego cannot pass through there. Only simplicity passes through there. Now the next and final part would help you see the whole thing together. It won't be a conclusion, it will be a holistic vision. No new thing would be said now. The same thing would be said that was always being said, but you couldn't hear it. Now you are tired of questions, of hopes, of fights, and this tiredness is not of any defeat. This tiredness is of the end of the struggle. When life sees that you aren't fighting anymore, it starts taking you into its lap. But people can't recognize this because they think peace comes after some achievement. No, peace comes when you stop. Now, listen carefully. All that happened until now didn't come to change you. It came to remove you, to remove all that you are not. You have put on so many layers that you didn't even remember who you were. Someone said, be like this. Someone said, be like that. And you changed a little bit with every voice. Now life has silenced all those voices. That is why there is so much silence now, along with a little fear. Because when the noise leaves, the emptiness shows, but this emptiness is not a lack. It is a possibility. Now for the first time you are so close to yourself that you are nervous, because now there is no place left to hide in a role. Now you can't just be strong, not just weak. Now you can only be true. And truth is the hardest state because there is no acting, no excuse. But that is the door to liberation. Now you will see that life isn't the same as before, not because external circumstances have completely changed, but because the one who sees has changed. Now those same events don't shake you as much. Those same words don't affect you as much because now you don't link everything to your existence. Before you said, why me? Now you see this is happening. And in this small difference, the whole of life changes. Now you can also understand that life never snatched anything from you. What went away wasn't what's staying, and what stayed was compatible with your truth. Now you aren't waiting for any special result. Now you are able to see the coming and going of events, and that is freedom. Freedom is not in getting something. Freedom is in not being afraid to lose something. Now you also start to see that most people are living in illusions they've made themselves. They think when I get this, I'll find peace. But what they do get brings a new fear along with it. Now you are out of that race, and standing outside to watch the race is a wonderful experience. Now you aren't jealous of anyone. You don't compare with anyone. Because now you are in harmony with yourself, and the one who has made peace with themselves doesn't have to prove anything to the world. Now you slowly recognize trust. Trust is not a thought. It is a state where nothing is pulling you and nothing is pushing you. It just is. Now you aren't afraid of being alone because now loneliness doesn't feel empty. It feels clean. Now you also understand that relationships are beautiful through complementarity, not through need. Now you don't grab anyone, you don't stop anyone. Welcome to whoever comes, respect whoever leaves. Because now you know no one else is your source. The source is within you. And when the source is found within, a lack on the outside doesn't scare you. Now life is not snatching anything from you. Now life is handing you over to your own hands. Now you don't put your responsibility on anyone else, not on fate, not on time, not on circumstances. Now you say what is, and there is no defeat in this sentence. There is amazing power in it because the one who accepts reality becomes bigger than it. But life never does justice. It only creates balance. Where there is imbalance, there is a jolt, and a jolt always feels painful because it is sudden. But if you look back, you will find the signs were there all along. You ignored them because the mind doesn't want to hear the truth. It wants convenience, and convenience becomes a habit. Habits run you, and you think that you are walking. Now life is pulling you out of habits. That is why there is so much nervousness. You feel like the ground is shifting. Actually, the ground isn't shifting, your grip is loosening, and that was necessary because what is held too tightly is never truly lived. Now you are seeing things for the first time without a grip: relationships, work, dreams, identity. Before, everything was attached to mine. Now the mind is slowly loosening, and where there is less of mine, there is less of a burden. Now don't think you are becoming indifferent. Indifference is harsh. You are becoming more aware. Now small things have started to tire you, the same arguments, the same complaints, the same race to prove yourself. You aren't running away from them now, you just aren't putting energy into them. And that is maturity. A mature person doesn't fight every war, he chooses where to stop. Now you are learning to stop, and stopping is not a weakness. Stopping gives vision. As long as you were running, you couldn't see. Now you can see how much was useless, how many things were done just out of habit, how many worries never actually happened. And how many fears were just imagination? Now your mind still plays old tricks. Now you don't look for an answer to every question. You just let some questions be and they fall away on their own. This is why you don't have to prove everything now. You know that what is doesn't need to be proven. Now a different kind of trust is taking shape inside you. This trust didn't come from a thought, it was born of experience. And the trust born of experience doesn't shake. It accepts, it becomes bigger than itself. Now you don't try to decorate the future. Now you live the present fully. And the one who has lived this moment, the future isn't a burden for them. Now you also know that courage isn't an emotion. Courage is a quiet presence. It doesn't shout, it doesn't show off, it just keeps you grounded. Now when someone says, don't lose heart, whatever happens, happens for the best. You just smile, because now you know that what happened was also for the best. What is happening is too, and what will happen will be as well. Now there is no belief in this. This has come from seeing. It is realization, and realization never shakes. Now life is not a problem. Now life is a mystery, and mysteries are not for solving, they are for living. Now you are living not in a hurry, not in fear, just in this moment. And this is not the end, this is the real beginning.